got this here for vacation. That's the thing. I got to tell you.
Good morning, Breakfast Clubbers!
Good morning!
5 minutes. You know, I feel like singing.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and sing. Gang's all here.
Yeah.
Hail, hail, the gang's all here. Morning Breakfast Clubbers, morning Breakfast Clubbers. Shout, 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 shout. That is what we're here for now. Yeah. And all you newbies, just get over it. 40 years, you know, you just got to sing. That's just the way it works. Bunch of slacktivists. Get in, get. Oh, man. Okay. We, our original plan, we're going to be filled up today. I got, you know, man, you can get all updated because I wasn't here last month. How'd that Tom Jenny thing go?
Good. Where were you?
Imagine black suit with a anarchist yellow priest band. Well, I learned a new word that day. Chartreuse. Which is about that color. And that was the tie I had to wear. A good friend of mine, I've known his daughter since she was young. She got married in Tucson, and I performed the ceremony. Oh yeah, I got my card. They sent me, yeah, I'm you just call me Father. No. Well, yeah, oh, reverend's gift, whatever. You know, I don't care. What happened was there is a, I'm not even sure, it's Universal Life Church of the, you know, funny bumper sticker, whatever it is. Anyway, you have the ability that you can go. Rich, why are you standing? You got a leg now or something?
No, I was looking for the creamers, but that's okay. And plus, I like to stand when I'm at official functions like yourself.
Did you get an artificial leg?
Yeah. I'm working on it.
Yeah! He had to have his leg amputated, diabetes, kind of, you know, whatever, took him off. Now, you know, we don't have to, you know, walk around his wheelchair. That's cool. Okay. I'm glad you're doing better, man. Right
Thank you.
So she asked, she said, we'd like you to marry us. And the reason was, I've known them, she's a good kid. She just graduated from University of Arizona as an architect. She'd been dating, I've been trying to get her to marry one of my sons forever. But she'd been dating a guy since high school, real nice kid, Jesse, that they'd been waiting for them to get done with school and everything, and they were ready. Had a nice big wedding in a country club thing, and it was all pretty beautiful. But her side of the family was very religious, well, her mother and stepfather, but her father, very atheist, libertarian, narco, you still got a government, I mean, kind of thing. So she's kind of more that way. And so they wanted to have someone that would, you know, not offend the Christian side but pay homage to just kind of keep it a neutral, nice ceremony. It was very nice. They asked me to do it. They sent me the stuff online. Any one of you can have the shiny badge I did. So I went through the process, got my little card and everything, so now I can marry people. And the word got out, so I do it again June 2nd. You know, so I'll be here too, either, you know. But and it's one of the good friends and employees of Mark Victor. I've known for a long time. He's our age, you know, but he has a beautiful wife or future wife that we've become good friends with, and they asked me to do that. When we go to Pork Fest in New Hampshire, they have a thing called stateless weddings. And they always do. Everybody wants to get married. They come in. They just screw the state in the hat. So that's why I was thinking I want dress up like a priest with an anarchist yellow collar or something. Yeah, that'd be cool. No, yeah, well, yeah. No. All right, so anyway, it's a good idea. I'm really I remember the Breakfast Club. I'll tell you this story to understand my perspective. In the mid-90s, it was 1995 run for Phoenix mayor. Gary Fallon, very good friend of mine, good libertarian, had run for the Libertarian gubernatorial nomination against Barry Hess in '02 to keep him honest. Because he was like, well, maybe we'll do the matching funds kind of, oh, well, Gary's running then, that kind of squashed that. So, Gary's been a good libertarian activist for a long time, but he's hardcore Catholic. And he and his wife did a program called First Way. First Way was about crisis pregnancy, so they wouldn't have an abortion. So you had a libertarian heading up a group, and Bob and I would do a lot of the printing for them for free. So we would print up all this stuff that went out to provide a libertarian solution to abortion, was to provide options for them to go through adoption. So that was kind of, the pro-life side of the libertarian movement in the 90s. Well, he was known as being anti-abortion. He didn't want to use the state, make you whatever, but, so we provided a solution instead of just rhetoric. Now, what happened was he ran for mayor in '95 against whoever it was, Thelda Williams. I remember she was running, and then whoever, and I don't care. But during that debate, the Arizona Breakfast Club, maybe you remember that debate, and the issue came up about, is gay marriage this and that, and all kinds of stuff, and who can and can't, and all these, who cares issues. But Gary came up and he said, they go, well, what side are you on, this, that? And he goes, well, I don't want the state involved in heterosexual marriages. And everybody's like, what? Think about it. When you have the government as a third-party arbiter in if not the most important personal, intimate contract that you will enter into for the rest of your life, and you want Uncle Sam to have prima nocte on your marriage, it's like your wedding night is a menage a trois with Uncle Sam. I'm like, seriously? So this concept started, getting into people. If you want to have, holy matrimony, well, you go to the church and you do your holy matrimony, and you have, and the body, the church, that's what it was for. But all of a sudden, the excommunication threat from the church, or whether you can or can't get divorced, and all these decisions all of a sudden became law. Where did that happen? It's up here. And I tell you, the marriage licensing started, it was a racial thing. When the slaves were freed and they got the freedom to carry guns and marry white women. Oh, heck no. So that's where gun control started coming in, marriage licenses, all this stuff, blood tests. They were no blood tests. They wanted to do a color your skin test. That's what was going on. Okay? So all of this kind of stuff has an anti-freedom core to it. Yeah. If you want to have, marriage, but it's starting to change. That's what we're going to be talking about later today, is that the culture, I keep screaming on the radio, I'm going, man, you guys don't get it. It's a cultural thing. Dr. Paul, in one of the debates, one of the last two debates, he said, yeah, I'm a OBGYN. I deal with, the issues of pregnancy and abortion and morning after pills and all this kind of stuff. And he goes, but I remember, I was a doctor in the early 60s, before Roe v. Wade and all this stuff. It is our culture that drives the law. These laws don't change or happen until the culture demands it. You want to change this stuff, it's not going to be a law that does it. It's going to be us. It's going to be the people. So you focus on that. So where was I going with all this?
State is a third party in all weddings.
Oh, yeah. When I got married in 1980, something, I can remember. Anyway, so I got married, I was 84. Obviously, I was 84. It was light rain, 1:30 in the afternoon, just tell my wife I remembered. When we got married in Pennsylvania, and we signed a contract, and they went through all this rehearsal stuff and everything, and they left out one part. When you get done, there's a first chance you go through, oh, yeah, we're married and everything. Wait a minute. Okay, now you got to go into the back room and make it legal. So I go back there. I'm not really married until I sign this piece of paper, and the guy signs, and it's all now thus stated. And I was in a Catholic church, and when we got married, her family's Catholic. I had to go through the Catholic, this is, you know, what you do to get married. You got to go through all this, yeah, whatever. You know, I mean, I want to make the family happy. I'm, you know, Catholic. You go through the
Cana conference.
What do you call it? Going to get married class.
Cana conference.
Okay, so you go through all this stuff. During all of this, they didn't tell me that the priest up there at the end of this thing goes, by the power granted me by the state of Pennsylvania. Right off. I'm like, seriously? I went through all this crap so you just say that the state gave you this power? It just, I mean, I wouldn't even, I was libertarian just in personality anyway. I already knew that was BS. So then they're taking me all this stuff, all of this, didn't matter. I had to go around, heck, I could have done this, you know, anyway, okay? So I go back there and we signed, and that just, I'm like, whatever. I was compliant, I didn't make a big deal, it's wedding day, make everybody happy. But it bothered me. As we're driving from Pennsylvania, we stopped in, our honeymoon was a trip back, you know, 2 days. You know, we went to, we stopped in Vegas and, you know, and had a good time and everything, then we came to Phoenix. The second I got here, that contract changed. Because we're in the state of Arizona. Your marriage contract's different. I go, wait, I just did this. The state of said, no, you're in Arizona. The way your children are treated is different. You know, if you have some kind of marital problem or a divorce or you're going to blah, 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 you're under a totally new contract. Oh. And they can change it. So this legislature goes, no, we change our mind. It means this now. Your benefits are different. Your this is different. How you relate to the insurance company is different. How you, I mean, on and on and on and on. Who can visit you in the hospital? Yada, 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 yada. So that's why a lot of the gay couples it's not so much that they give a crap about getting married. It's they want to be able to visit their significant when he's, you know, dying of cancer in the hospital. They want to be, you know, on the insurance plan. They want to be all this crap. And next generation is seeing how much crap this is. So what happened was, here in the state of Arizona, and the Arizona Breakfast Club got all involved, and I remember, they changed where they go, oh, you got the conservative Republicans going up, oh man, we need to have a special kind of, you're not supposed to, it's harder to get married, kind of new special covenant marriage. Here in Arizona, you have 2 marriages, right? You know, I mean, you get the I'm kind of married, and then you get the really sanctioned, state says you're married. And I don't even know what the difference is, and I don't care, okay? Because what happens is, they went through this, and for Valentine's, it was a Center for Arizona Policy or something. It was Les Munsell's thing, right? So they were making a big deal. We got it passed. We're good Republicans. We really love you because we made a special kind of marriage. Thank us, Republicans. All right? Valentine's Day, you come over to Scottsdale and you can convert your marriage into a covenant marriage. You're going to be really married if you sign this piece of paper. And this is how the ad went. AFYI, this is good. Valentine's Day, you come in Scottsdale, we're going to give you a good covenant marriage. You'll be really, really, really married. Because to get divorced, you have to like go to an extra class or something. I remember, hey, so I go, so this is what, I remember as this was going through, one guy, a friend of mine, a co-worker, he was telling me this story, and he goes, they have to go through a special account, do something. And they're sitting down, and they go to the guy, and he says, now say something nice about your wife. Now just say something nice. And he sits there and he goes, well, she doesn't sweat much for a fat chick. I'm not thinking this covenant thing really has a big difference. You see what I mean? We went to an extra class to be a butthead, you know? So at that time I'm going, ouch, man. So there's no law that's going to change this stuff. So when they did the Scottsdale thing, I remember, it wasn't too awful long, I guess in the 90s, whenever this happened. The covenant marriage, they're on KFYI. Oh yes, we're performing, come down, and then if you really love your wife, and this is how they did it, through the churches. They were going, oh, you're not, we got a covenant, you don't have a covenant. It was like a new way to make money. It was like the special interest was the priest de la, we get more money extra marrying. We don't make enough marrying people, we're going to remarry them, okay? So they go in and they said, come down here, do this and everything, and don't forget to bring your Social Security card. Seriously. Am I lying? Social Security card, and I extra married. To what?
The state.
And you wonder why I'm the way I am.
No, we
Either
know
side
why
would be
you are.
Republicans, okay? So anyway, same thing. I don't care. The Democrats are screaming, well, yeah, we want to be shackled to the state just like the heterosexual people. I mean, okay, fine, go ahead. So this trend is, I've seen it going in the last few years. And a lot of this has really taken hold since Dr. Paul, because he's emphasized the importance of culture, of morality as an individual trait, not a state trait. Because if you put the state gets to determine what is and is not right, wrong, moral, immoral, then you start winding up with this kind of crap, And it's just all they teach us is from birth, to worship the state. The state, I'm going to, okay, I'm going to, whatever. And I saw, and you see it manifested in a couple ways. The biggest way was the Ron Paul Revolution signs. They go around, it'd be like this. And I think I told you this story before, but I'm going to emphasize this because this is a really good example here. Shoot him! Boom! Yeah, everybody turn your thing off.
And your phone too.
I yell when it happens to me. Okay. I go to a group and they'll say, and Ernest Hancock, creator of Ron Paul, blah, 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 and everybody goes, hey, and I go, hey, who's the sign makers? Then you see some young people congregated over in the crowd. It'd be a crowd about this size or up to 2-3 times this size. And you'll see in the corner, there's a bunch of, late teens, early 20-somethings, and they're sitting there going, well, we're not making signs. I thought we were going to make signs. I came here to make signs. I saw on YouTube you were making signs. I thought this is a sign place. I went to the meetup. Guys, there's some Ron Paul sign. You're not making signs? So I go, we'll talk. I'll be over tomorrow. What do you guys got out of yard, garage? Cool. I'm here 3 days. Ron Paul will be here. It's Wednesday or something. He'll be here Saturday. We'll be making hundreds of signs. Don't worry about it. We're going to take care of it. The other people, we're not making signs. We got to do meetings and stuff and go and get votes and whatever and some other crap. And and they don't care. Don't care. So as I give the presentation to change the cult, this is the people that's common and so didn't even face. Don't even have no clue. It's just another social thing. So as time goes on, all of a sudden, it's a few years later, we're up to now, and they're seeing that this is a wave, a tsunami that is international. It is a whole thing across the planet. Our Arab Spring thing's taken. I've had just this week. Okay, I'm going to take 10 minutes, and then we're going to go to David. And I'll tell you what we're going to do. Jeff Cook Jr., where is he at? So I can see him. There he is. Jeff Cook has spoken here before. We've met his son before. West Point graduate, Army, just got out. Been to Iraq, all goes, I said, you want to tell a story? I'll tell you a story. And he goes, but I'm not really out. They can, court-martial shoot me until the end of this next month. Can I do it in June? Yes. But better be good, man. I want all the dirt, okay? So we'll hold off on Jeff here and won't give him a hard time because we know, right? Sibel Edmonds. How many of you know who Sibel Edmonds is? Sibel Edmonds she's originally from Iran, I think, and she spoke Farsi, Turkish, and some other languages. Very smart, beautiful woman that after 9/11, she's, America, okay? She calls, you need FBI translators. She knew some people in the diplomatic corps, whatever. She goes, oh man, didn't we have this conversation? So then what she did is she says, I want to help you. I can translate when I go, absolutely get on board. So she starts translating all of these FBI wiretaps, international, whatever calls, that had come in Turkish. So she's sitting there and she's like, oh my God. Congressmen involved in all kinds of arms deals and drug dealing and, pre-knowledge of 9/11 and all this other crap that's going on.
No.
She goes to her bosses and says, hey man, this is good. And they go, we'll take that under advisement. Okay. Then one of the main things was, it comes out years later. You know, I'm interviewing her, Charles is interviewing her, all the stuff she can't say. She wants to testify before Congress. She's going to go to Congress. Boom. They put a gag order on her. If she talks, she's going to jail. Patriot Act kind of stuff. At the same time, there's another woman named Susan Lindauer. I've interviewed her a couple of times in the last month. I was at a conference in Los Angeles where we were getting awards and all that kind of stuff. And she was one of the speakers, keynote on the dinner night. She's telling the story. She was a CIA asset. They knew September 11th, they knew what was going to happen in April. She is a CIA asset, and her cousin happens to be Andrew Card, which is a guy, when Bush is reading My Pet Goat, okay, Bob. The guy that came and told him that the second plane hit and all that, that's her cousin. She goes and gives him all this information. Look, you guys need to know this. Who lives next door? Colin Powell. Now, this is all documented that they got this stuff because in the Patriot Act, they accumulated all this information, and it became part of her case. She wrote a book called Extreme Prejudice. She was renditioned for 4 years. They tried to chemically lobotomize her and all this other stuff. She wouldn't take the drugs. Because when she goes into the shower, she sees the women having to be washed by the guards because they're like, you know. And I'm going, wow. It's a long story, but the bottom line, you know, you can get down is this. The only reason we even know she exists is because her uncle happened to be an attorney that just hammered on it. Goes to the Air Force Base where they had her. I'm here to see you, whatever. I got a judge order, says she's here. I'm here to see her. Attorney see her. And they go, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't have a prison here. Really? Goes back. Judge says, go back again. And here he comes. He goes back. I'm going to say, no, you can't. You know, visiting hours are over. As they're letting other people go in around them. They're just, you know, screw you. What are you going to do about it? Okay. Then he comes back a third time, has the judge on the phone, has a court order, and 2 armed federal marshals. This is a point in history that there was going to be shots fired by somebody going somewhere. These federal marshals, and you got some private going, oh, he said, oh. I mean, you know, it goes back and forth. Finally, they let him in. It starts to come out. You know, that's how she finally got out and be able to tell her story. The thing is that while we were sitting there doing this, there was a reporter from Esquire magazine, which is like GQ. It's like a men's magazine. Don't I have pretty skinny ties and whatever, out of UK. Now, he was there covering, he wanted to cover Ron Paul and this, you know, phenom thing that's going on for European magazine, starting with this conference in LA. Well, he made the mistake of hanging out with us anarchists, because who's at our table and during, you know, we talked to him over about 3 days. At our table, seriously? At our table is me, Anthony Gregory, Butler Schaefer, Angela Keaton. All of us got plaques and awards, okay? They had us come to whatever. So as we're sitting there, all of a sudden it's like each one of us, we've got plaques all around the table and everything. I'm at the cool table, okay? We're telling them how screwed up, you know, the reason behind and the Ron Paul thing and all and why and all that and the next generation and everything. And he's like, yeah, but, and yeah, but, and yeah, but. And then he hears her story. And he's like, oh my God. Nobody ever told us this stuff. Nobody did a report. And I'm going, yeah, and Esquire ain't going to neither. Oh yeah, no, this is great, man. I know my editor. We're going to get all this. And I go, man, where you been? You think in the United Kingdom, no less, all of a sudden a men's magazine is going to, before the election, they're going to have this story of her and what she did, and that they knew 9/11 was coming, and that the top guys knew? Colin Powell, presidents, you know, attorney to Bush, Card, all these guys. You think they're going to print that? What kind of crack are you on, man? Now, when he came to do these stories, what has he written about before? Polygamy, the cult of this, the song. He was a subculture reporter. That's how they saw the Levolution. So he got a big giant dose of a bunch of us we've known this for a long time. So I'm going, all right, so he subscribed to the magazine, he gets on the site, he's like our bestest buddy, follow-up interviews, and he's just, man, ooh. He had a photographer from the United Kingdom came in to take pictures and everything, and they're speaking with their funny accents and everything and having a good time and enjoying America. So you can understand that from their perspective, over a decade later, they're just now starting to hear about this stuff. How is it going to affect them? Are they going to get it printed? Is it going to come out? What do you think? He says, of course it is. I'm a journalist, but this is great. Oh my God. Like, you are so naive. Hell, you're going to be shot just for knowing. So that's where we're at on that one. So what happens is, it is a manifestation of what's wrong with them and what's really going on out here and how they're not telling you. And this, just last 2 days, we had a story on Freedom's Phoenix. The cable news networks have lost audience over 25% in just last few months. It's just plummeting. And they think, well, if we show more blood fires and get another war going or something, well, we can get it back up. It's going to come. How many of you think there's not going to be a big boom or something? I'm going, for years, I go like this. I said, look, St. Louis Arch, Golden Gate Bridge, toast. Or something like that. Some harbor, some. They're prepping us for all kinds of, a dirty bomb, whatever. And whatever happens, Rand did it. I mean, that's what they're going to say. Okay? So this march is the same thing they did to get us into Iraq. And the difference is that now the internet and the people inside, they have outlets to get this stuff out. And here we go. I got so many stories of just the last couple of months of things here just in Arizona that I could entertain you all day. But David Fitzgerald is going to go ahead and help us with what you can do here now in Arizona if you want to have an impact, for those of you that care, an impact on the Republican Party and its quest, its march towards the National Convention, and how that would relate to Dr. Paul having a voice. Because if we take advantage of this, it will at least do one of two things, or probably both. One, how jacked up and fraudulent scumbag this whole process and the parties are. Yeah. Which is what I think is going to happen. Or you can demonstrate how you overwhelmed it and screw you, okay? Which has happened as much too. So there is a mechanism now to help us get through this, because I don't understand it, and I probably understand it more than you. But I'm going to have David give a little bit of presentation. Go ahead and come on up. A 5-minute, kind of 10-minute get you whatever, and then I'm going to ask him a bunch of questions, because even when he stands there and tells me, I don't understand. Okay? So let's start with, to make it easy, try and keep me from asking you questions, to start with the end game in Tampa is that you're going to have 58 delegates? 59 delegates, okay? That 59 people get to go up in the great state of Arizona, cast blah, blah, blah votes for whoever, okay? In that process, how do those 59 people get there? Who are they? How are they selected? How are they voted? Somebody voted for them. Who is eligible to vote for them? How do they get eligible to be voted for? I mean, we're at this process back here, and we're going to get to there. So I'm going to have David explain that to you, and if I don't understand something, I'm going to save the question for this, because if I don't understand, probably a couple of you don't either. David, go ahead.
Okay. All right, so we're all, at least a lot of us here are trying to support Ron Paul, and we all know it's about delegates. At the National Convention, the state of Arizona officially has 29, because we moved our primary up. We have 29 national delegates. The RNC is going to vote for 59. They're going to have 29 on an A list and 30 on a B list. They're trying to get the sanction, the penalty lifted, which, if they think it's all going for Mitt Romney, it'll probably happen.
Okay, talk about the penalty. Why was there a penalty?
The penalty was we moved it up. We moved our primary before March 6th. Well, yeah, the governor. Yeah, Arizona, the governor moved the primary up before March 6th. The Republican National Committee, the Rules Committee, imposed this penalty for anybody that moved it up. Anyways, so we need these national delegates. We're gonna try to get 59 people. How do those 59 people get elected? Well, May 12th, we are going to have a state caucus. It's called a caucus because there's no proxies. You have to be there in person to vote. All right, May 12th, we're having this state caucus at the 33rd Avenue and Camelback, the university there. I can't remember the name. Grand Canyon University. It's going to be held there on May 12th. Okay, now those 59 people, the national delegates and alternates will be elected there. Well, who gets to vote for those people? State delegates get to vote for national delegates. We have 1,260 potential state delegates. How are state delegates arrived? Who does that count? What they do is, as of December 31st, 2011, we get one state delegate and one state alternate for every 1,000 registered Republicans in the state. That's how they get to the 1,266 state delegates. All right? Only state delegates can vote for national delegates. Now, how do you become a state delegate? We have 30 legislative districts in Arizona. At the district level, they break up their little slice of the pie. Okay, in my district, we have 51,546 registered Republicans, so we get 52 delegates in my district. All right? Now, who can vote for state delegates at the district level? Only people who are registered, who are precinct committeemen as of December 31st. But any registered Republican who lives in that district can be on the ballot. You can't vote for yourself if you're not a PC, but any registered Republican can be on the ballot as long as you live in the district and you went on and you went to your computer and you went on and you registered Republican and you hit print and it has your little printout that you're a registered Republican. You walk into the meeting, or preferably contact them before, get on the printed ballot. And a lot of us are doing this. I started this push a little over 2 weeks ago. We have about 400 of us who are trying to get on all these ballots, and we've got a lot of us that are. Legislative District 4, on Thursday night, I met with the chairman and a lot of other chairmen, and he's talking to me, he's like, man, I can't even fill. I've got 73 delegates and I only have 35 people on the ballot. Hello? Registered Republican, walk in, got a pulse, you got your driver's license, boom, you're a delegate. Now you can vote for national delegates. Yes.
It's too late to get your name. I'm in LD for it, as you know. It's too late to get your name on the ballot.
It is.
You can go in. You can be a write-in, but as of April 2nd, you can no longer be put on.
I've got it in writing from Eric. He's extending the deadline a week. Anyways, even if you have to be a write-in, there literally are some districts that have so low of participation. There's about 5 districts you ain't going to be able to get in. I don't care what you do, you're going to get in. I mean, they're contested. My district is one of them. They're trying to throw me out, and I'm the district chairman. And so there's only about 4 or 5 districts, but there's 29 districts. There are some districts literally have a whiteboard. You walk in, show your registered Republican, and they have so many slots. And you just fill your name in, and boom, you're a state delegate. You may not be able to afford to be a national delegate, take the time off work and the money and everything, but you can vote for a slate of 59 Ron Paul delegates. We're trying to get our numbers to about 500. And yeah, there's 1,260, but there's going to be all these little different groups, and the groups are going to be split up. But if we get about 500 votes, we got a decent chance of having the majority, if not all of our slate, go to Ron Paul for the National Convention. Yes, we do have to sign a form that says, I will use my best effort to vote for Mitt Romney on the first ballot.
Does that actually name him?
What does that mean?
Yes. It names him, and it says you'll use your best. I think the actual term is your best effort.
Does that mean
Well, take that or whatever you want. I'm just telling you the process, and I was, you know, the RNC, they don't give this information out too well, and I'm going through as a district chairman. I'm going through trying to find out all the rules, and I'm dissecting everything. Well, before they announced everything, I kind of put all the pieces of the puzzle together, and we had a Ron Paul leadership meeting, and there's a few of us that were working on the official Ron Paul campaign, and I was pretty disappointed at that meeting. Actually, I got into some harsh words, and I said, this information needs to go out to everybody right now. Send it out on the whole list, because I knew between April 7th and April 21st, we are going to have district caucuses. And as long as you're a registered Republican and you live in that district, you can be on the ballot. And the answer that I got was, we can't send an email until we know where all 30 legislative district meetings are, what time they are, what rules they are. I'm like, are you serious? We got to get this information out to the people and just tell them, okay, this is the basic plan. And send a link. Okay, here's a link on, look up your chairman. Who's your chairman? Here's his email address or her email address and telephone number. It's up to you to find out when your district is, but this is what's going on. Well, they didn't want to do that, and I said, the hell with this stuff, and I started pushing this out, and in about 2 weeks, we're over 400 people that are committed to follow through with this process. And we're trying to get as many of us on there as possible. So that's kind of how it is. So if you show up to your caucus and you happen to have the whiteboard caucus, good for you. Just hopefully there's still some slots left. Legislative District 4, District 9, they've got about 20 openings. And I know a lot of these chairmen, and I'm talking with them, and they've told me that you show up. If you have any problem with the district chairman, I mean, be nice and courteous, but if you have any problem, let me know. I'm handling those kind of issues in the, you know, we have District 28 and 26. They don't quite fully understand the rules, and we're kind of working through that. But anyways.
This is a good time for Terry. You wanted to change tape and batteries. Okay, we need to do a tape change. Now, let me go ahead and make one point and statement and observation, and then hopefully David can address it. Let me tell you where this all came from and why it's best effort thing. In 1996 presidential election campaign, there was an effort by, at the time, Governor Symington, that they were going to have a presidential preference primary that got him in trouble with all this, you know, rules and national, because the Republican National Committee, they want to manage the process so they get whoever the heck it is that they want. Well, each state wants to have whatever the heck they want to do, and then ouch quit it back and forth, and they'll go, all right, if you don't do it the way we want, and it has nothing to do with the state party, they go in and do it with, like the way they always think, we're going to do it with law. Okay, so they have the state law come in and say, you will whatever. Go, hey, man, you know, we got to change the law. It's the law. So what they do is they say, well, since you violated the national party rules, we penalize you by taking away half of your delegates. So a lot of states, like Florida and a bunch of these others, say you don't have these. Well, that's just another opportunity. This is really a backdoor end around, because this is what happens. They will go through all kinds of machinations to decide who is, say we have, and they got a plan for this, and David can talk about it. They go and they say, all right, here's your, say, 60 round number. Here's your 60 delegates that you get. Well, you're penalized. You only get 30 of them. Well, then the state executive Uber committee or something will go, and of the 60 we pick, you don't like Ron Paul, and you get to go because you don't like Ron Paul, and you see my point? So they select who they want that goes there. The other thing is that when they get there, you have a bunch of alternates. And these alternates that can afford, and they know the deal, they actually attend. And they go, and they're standing over there in the wings. I've seen this happen. They're over there, da-da-da-da-da-da, and they go, Chairman, I move that it was bad and evil of the Central Committee to not allow the states to have them. They need to have full representation of the voters and Republicans because we're good and everything. Yes. And the whole convention goes aye, and we vote, and boom. Yes, you get your full contingency now. You can bring in all the other Romney supporters. See my point? So he needs to address that. The other thing is that when they did this, Symington did it because Phil Gramm was running for president out of Texas or whatever, and Symington wanted to help give Graham a leg up in going in an early win in Arizona, which became one of the first states. When they did that, all of a sudden you had different qualifications for the presidential preference primary, which is funded by the taxpayer, but it's only a Republican thing, and it's non-binding. That's why you have my best effort thing. Well, my best effort, I didn't do it. What's the penalty?
Nothing.
This all be. There's a penalty. What's the penalty, Russ?
Well, we have a
Jail?
No, I mean, listen, we had an hour conversation with Tom Morrissey in his office just last week.
Speak up, Russ. You guys.
Can't hear you, Russ.
Face that way. They can't hear you. Yeah, come up here, man. Give us what for. Now, this is a party officer said, so it must be true.
Okay. Get him, Russ.
All I'm going to do is tell you what Tom Morrissey said to
Okay,
us.
who's Tom Morrissey? Why
He's
don't you
the
know what Tom
he's
Morrissey
the Republican Party state chairman. Okay, last week we had an hour-long conversation with him in his office about this very thing. And without going into a whole lot of detail, here's the way he said it works. He said the night before the actual roll call of the states, the vote is taken within the delegation. And if you don't vote, or say, assuming Romney's going to get the presumptive one we're supposed to be voting for, if you don't vote for him, you're replaced with your alternate. And it keeps going until for the first ballot. After that. So if I'm a delegate, we almost have to vote for Romney on the first ballot because I want to be there if he doesn't get it on the first ballot. I want to be there for Ron Paul on the second, third, fourth, and fifth. So that's how it works. That's the penalty.
Get it? Now this is the point that they had this all set up. When they did the presidential preference primary, the Libertarian Party challenged it. We filed suit. We said, wait a minute, your vote's on a Tuesday. By state law, the state parties must have their convention by the last Saturday in January, right? By the end of January. At our state conventions, that's where we select our delegates to our national convention. We already know who our delegates are 3 days before you even have your ballot. Why in the hell is the Libertarian Party going to cost the taxpayers money to print up a Libertarian presidential ballot for the entire state at the cost of gazillions of dollars when we already know before you even did it? Nah, because it's law. So we go, well, you know what? We sued. Well, because Clinton didn't want, he was incumbent, he didn't want to be, challenged on a ballot or whatever, the Democrats joined our suit. We won the suit. There was no Democratic and Libertarian presidential preference primary in '96. It was a Republican taxpayer-funded socialist welfare beauty contest, okay? With no penalty and no jail time, no nothing, except what Russ had described, which is their plan anyway. So what we go is we go, all right, 2000 comes around. We go, we don't want to do that one either. And they go, nope, you got to do it. We go, can we just filed, we won this suit, we got precedent in. They go, yeah, well, that was 96. Get it? So we did a bunch of little activism and slapping around. But the point is that it is what happens when you take business and government, private organizations, government, organizations, churches, institutions, whatever, and government, and do this, where you can't tell the difference between the two. What do you call that? Fascist, fascist, fascist. So this fascist system that you're talking about is why I couldn't possibly care less, but he's trying to game it. He's trying to make sure that you have whatever, and they're trying to make sure that it doesn't get to that, because the first ballot, they're going to do whatever they're going to do, or say it did whatever it did, regardless. And what will happen at the national convention is what's been happening at all the state conventions. It doesn't even matter what they say, it's what they report or put down, or the guy has it, because they'll do it the night before. All right, go. What questions do you have for him?
Any questions?
I was talking with Matt and Patty about this, and I said, you know, my husband and I would really love to be there in Tampa, but I don't know if we can afford it, because that would be like $6 grand or something for us to get there. And he said, hey, if you get elected and you can be there, we'll get you there. Don't worry about it. So it might be a good time to register as a Republican and come on down and help.
Well, anyways, so we're the biggest push right now is to become a state delegate at your local district. If you're not a state delegate, we have no voting rights. We need votes. Clear, pure and simple. You don't have votes, and if we had the votes in our district level, then we can control the whole thing. But we don't have the votes in the district level. We're just trying to play off of their apathy. There's, in LD4, there's a lot of apathy. They just don't care. There's 35 people on the ballot. Yes?
This is just a tangential question, but is there any way mathematically that if Gingrich and Santorum and Ron Paul picked up enough delegates between now and Tampa that there actually could be a brokered convention?
Most definitely. Right now, Texas is trying to change the rules. Santorum people are trying to change the rules, which is going to give Santorum more delegates, but that actually helps us because it takes more away from Mitt, the chosen child of Mitt Romney.
What? You don't like Mitt?
But as far as, and it does us good that all the sheeple think that we've got 51 delegates. And if anybody who knows anything knows we have a whole lot more. We don't know the actual number yet, but our numbers are strong. And one of the things that Ron Paul said in 2008, if you want to change government, you have to become government. And what he meant by that is you got to get involved and look at what they did in Iowa and what they're doing in Nevada and these other states. They're just flat taking over the GOP. They're sick and tired of it. They're going in, kicking these guys out basically, and rearranging, putting the Constitution back up on the wall, dusting it off, and and that's what what I like is we're all like spokes in a wheel. We're all doing our own thing, but we're still marching towards liberty and freedom. So I commend anybody who does anything. I don't care what you do, just do something. I've chosen to work within the Republican Party because if there's enough of us within the Republican Party, it would be a constitutional party. It wouldn't be what we know it is today. And just like what you're saying, the Republican Party, this private club, they have the taxpayers pay for their primaries. We could change that if there was enough of us. And plain and simple, I personally believe that the Federal Reserve issues, the foreign policy, and everything would not be on a national stage if Ron Paul was in any other party besides the Republican Party, because they wouldn't even let him speak. But, well, they are not doing that now, but look what the difference was from 2008 till now. Huge. We've tripled our numbers, and they're scared as hell. Yes?
David, could I quote you from last week, something you said, stuck in my mind?
Okay.
Those who show up determine what happens.
That's it. So,
Thank you, David. a bunch of announcements. I got some other stories to tell you, but I want to get through some of these announcements. But the bottom line is, what David's doing and everything here is a side effect of the culture shift already. I mean, this is what happens when you have a Lovolution. When you have this is the fringe out here manifestation of a real change at the core. So I'm more focused on the core. And what happens is when you do this kind of stuff, it just starts to spoke out like he's saying. They're thinking that, well, all of us come together and we'll kind of change the core. That's always the mindset. We need to get collectivized. I'm like, no, what happens is it's the individual is the core, and that's what permeates out. What you see is a manifestation of the core. And the core is the future. Think about it. I was these young... Stand up, Alex. This is me. Okay? I was better looking in the day. So what happened is that when I'm this young man, and I would look at a crowd like this, look at the average age. I mean, we got a lot of young people and everything. I mean, the average age, we're what? 55, 60, something like that. I was him looking at this, and I go, I just got to wait for all y'all to die off. Seriously. I was going, I know where this is going. My generation, people that think like I do, are just going to come up and just replace you. And while you're in, your retirement home going, where's my entitlement? Get to work, Alex. Fork it over, man. Give me. I got a law. So, you, Dr. Paul, hey, man, argued the moral argument. I haven't really won on this Constitution thing. I'm going to win that economic argument. And that is a common. What has just happened in the last couple of weeks? China did a trade agreement with Japan not using the dollar. BRICS, which stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, they are abandoning the dollar and going to start their own currency. They're looking for another world currency. Then you got the World Bank and IMF going, we got to have a, what did I say? We were going to go to the Amero, we're going to the what?
World-O.
The World-O. Neon flashing obvious to me. Are you guys shocked now? Damn, Ernie must be clairvoyant. No, you must be stupid. Okay? So this is so neon. I don't even have to be an economist. I don't have to understand, anything but one thing. There are people, individuals, groups of powerful individuals that see you as just eaters, man. You're just livestock. You're there to make sure they get the whatever. There's too many of you. We need to do some chemtrailing or something, which they be doing, man. I mean, damn, I mean, wow. I mean, and my thing to the environmentalist, I have him on my show, so I need to do another one like that. Where's Donna? Donna, go, whatever. So anyway, the environmentalists, they'll talk about every snail darter doing fishing, whatever insect, but right above the head of everybody, all this stuff going on, there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, you would think they would at least, make something up, just kind of, for a fundraiser or something, No! And it's the most obvious, everybody sees it. What is it? I don't know, is it good, bad? I don't know. But we ain't looking neither.
Right.
So I'm going, wow. That has to tell you something right there. I mean, regardless of whatever it is. You'd think you'd have Greenpeace set out there in the ocean, they'd have a Greenpeace plane following one of those contrails collecting the sample. No! Can't do that. We might find out what's going on. So I'm just going, wow. So there's a bunch of this stuff happening. I mean, it's like every day. How many of you have listened to my radio show? When I do the radio show, I'm like this. I get up in the morning, I prep, and I'm like, and I'll have a guest or not. And I go through Freedom's Phoenix, and Powell, senior editor, he's got it all done up. And I get in the morning, and I go up, and I go, I can spend 3 hours on that, and that, and that, and that, and look at this, and this. And I might mention some stuff. But I got the greatest resource of all the stuff that's happening just with Freedom's Phoenix. But if you want to know what's really going on and everything daily, go to Freedom. How many of you read Freedom's Phoenix? Yeah. So, really, do you need me to keep telling you how bad? I mean, come on. I go read Freedom's Phoenix. What I try to provide is something totally different. I want to just read Freedom's Phoenix on the air. My goal is to make sure that you understand the context and the perception have a perspective on all this stuff's happening and why. It's at the core. There are people that believe that they rule you. And they just need you to either acquiesce to it or be part of it or get the stupidest guy on the local television news. Oh, yeah, we should do something about that. Of course, 40 other guys, they said, just leave me alone. But, that one guy, oh, yeah, man, we need government. Okay? We need more government. There should be a law. So this is just a psyop. So what happens? Viewership of all these things go to nothing. It's done. What do I always say? The mainstream media, the media that's so last century. Well, that's becoming obvious now. I got a bunch of good little sayings that's coming true. So the other thing is we said we need to watch. Right. Don't believe the liberal media. Well, just don't believe the media. Whatever, you can call it what you want.
Liberal media.
And to find, whatever, bad media. Don't believe corporate media. Don't believe, the thing, and this is what they didn't understand and what we were talking about, what Freedom's Phoenix was about. I'm going, look, when I found out that you could have your Wayne's, okay, let me tell you some of the things that's been going on. There is a webpage called the Daily Bell. The Daily Bell is kind of like a Lou Rockwell of Europe. They're English out of Sweden or something, or Switzerland or whatever it is. They're foreigners. So we have linked to some of their stories and everything. Charles Goyette introduced me to it. He was a big fan of theirs. So they asked me for an interview, and it's like a 7,000-word interview. Okay, there's 3 pages of questions, and I'm like, wow. Well, a bunch of these are going to be one word, yes and no's. I can tell you that right now. So we went through and I explained where I came from and the evolution and the future and why I see and everything. And they had a lot of questions about the economy, international stuff, Libertarian Party's role, campaigns, what about this guy and that. And I kept bringing it back to, an optimistic view. But I wanted to make sure that they understood what's happening is already happened. It's not like we're going to stop it. Even Dr. Paul acknowledged this here just in the last couple of months. He was up on the, for one of his gazillion crowds that you never see on TV, by the way. He had 5,000, 6,000 people. They have, at this time, same time that he had 5,200 students out there just screaming at a university, they are having, at the same time, Romney, Gingrich, and Santorum with a couple of thousand people saying, oh, the 3 candidates here, look at all these thousands of people. Seriously? And we're supposed to respect them for some reason? They're not there to give you the news. They're there to give you the spin. They're there to just try and, give justification for some, God knows whatever it is that's going to happen. And they just say, yeah, see, we told you, after they already knew where the dial was going to be set anyway. The media is us. And when I found out that it was all about credibility, the integrity of the individual, whose word do you trust? It's going to be the 15 gazillion shiny tie wearers on CNN, Fox, MSNBC, or it's going to be that one kid that was there with a YouTube video that he uploaded and it happened 5 minutes ago. And I love that commercial they have. Did you hear about? Oh, that was so 19 seconds ago. And he goes, I remember at this one, it was a tailgate party or something, and a guy comes out of his RV and a couple of guys sit in the lawn chair and he goes, hey, do you guys know how to load something on the Facebook? And they go like this, do you know how to load something up on Facebook? And it's him saying it 3 seconds later, and you think that's an exaggeration. So I'm going, this is just so, do you remember the old AT&T commercials when they were talking about the guy sitting on the beach? This is years ago. This is like early 2000s. There's a guy on the beach with a tablet, and he's just doing writing with his finger on it, and he hits fax, send fax, converts it to text, and then faxes it, and he sits there and does his thing. Well, that was 5, 6 years before they actually started doing it. I keep up on the technology of this stuff. You have no idea. I mean, it is most amazing, and it has nothing to do with government. That's why governments have to shut. We did our whole entire month issue last month was on the internet and cyberspace, and how is it that they do all this piracy, and how is it you got this anonymous thing going and hacking the NSA site? Pentagon's getting like fuzzy pictures or V's on it or something. I mean, how the heck are they doing that? How are they downloading all of this pirated software and movies and programs that cost $2,000 they're getting for free from your 13-year-old neighbor's kid? You know, whatever. So I'm going, how is this happening? What they describe is this internet is this enormous trunk of ability to transmit ones and zeros, and the World Wide Web is this itty bitty wire. They're going, you guys are just playing on the little bitty part. You know, it don't matter. Then we're going to put up our own satellites. Information is now wired from individual to individual, and increasingly it's bypassing all controls. That makes parties, government, all this crap irrelevant. But there is a role for it. I'm a perfect example of it. I use the political process all hell. And Ron Paul and the Levolution, heck, more than most. So the thing is, though, is to what end? To save the Republican Party? I hear that all the time, and I did it in that article. They go, well, what about this? And I go, look. Everybody always says that this, we got to save the Republican Party. Well, I'm looking for a wooden stake and a mallet. You know, so it's so not in my mindset. So there is an opportunity, though, and we have it this week. I'm going to have Michael come up. Michael Kilsky is with the Libertarian Party, and just give you a brief option. There are two things that you can do. We have the opportunity, as David Fitzgerald had, see David. If you are able in the video and so on, yes. We can do at least either have a major impact at National Convention in Arizona, which, Keith McKinney back there just going, he just loves getting a bunch of people together so he can give them stuff. You know, so Keith, man, he's all over it. So we take advantage of these opportunities. David's doing all the work for us. There are other people, you know, Russ is very involved in this. And I forgot your name, I'm sorry. Margot. I haven't seen you in a year. Don't get hard on me. Maybe you do. Maybe it's in my, other folder. You never know. I get like 1,000 a day, man. I got to filter it somehow. So what happens is you have Russ and Margot are good examples of people, and and Burl, and Ruth, and Dennis and Karen, and a lot of people. They are involved in this. People I respect and love. That they are using this to whatever benefit we can get from at least the education, having an impact and learning just how bad it really is, or if there's something you can do. And just like David says, if you're doing something, you at least learn something. Indecision is the worst decision. I tell you why. It's because you always see the same thing. You're looking at the same telephone pole. You make at least some decision, even to go left, right, or something. You see, there's a whole bunch of telephone poles. Just a little bit of difference in perspective. I mean, just like that. And you go, damn, there's a lot of telephone poles. But you don't see it if you're just standing there looking at one telephone pole. That's the point. Go do it. But there's another option. A lot of you that have wanted to have your say, and Dr. Paul has been that say, well, if Dr. Paul, goes away and he's not there anymore, who gets to have the say going into this election? I guarantee it's going to be, Obama and Romney, blah, 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 blah. And a good friend of mine, the gentleman that I married his daughter, he's hardcore, man. And he goes like this. He came and visited when she got married. We're on the air. He's in studio. And he goes, a bunch of racist people out there. Racist? Why are they racist? What are they racist? He goes, look, if you prefer, Obama over Romney or Romney over Obama, what's the difference? You're just a racist. There's no difference. If you prefer one over the other, you're just a racist. And I had to think about that for a second. I'm going, wow, that's good, man. I'm so going to rip that off, So I'm going, yeah, he's right. And hell, throw Bush in there too. So, Monday. Get ready, Michael. Monday. Wow, she's getting big. Is that your youngest? Oh, my God. And she looks just like your other girl, too. I got to tell you about my daughter having her baby last week. She almost died. You get like 6,000 cc's of blood in you. They had to replace her with 11,000. I mean, I was sitting there watching her. It was bad, man. There's a lot of, man, Nerdy was not happy, okay? So, brought our family together, big, giant deal, blah, 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 bottom line, beautiful baby. She finally had the baby, Friday, it was a blur. But anyway, it was all that weekend. Came home Tuesday, at home, everything's fine. beautiful baby. It was like almost 9 pounds, and she's small and water broke, and for like 30 hours the baby's in there kicking, contractions and all that. So her uterus just went to bleh. All kinds of blood gushing out, projectile blooding. I mean, it was scary. So this is, and her sister is still traumatized by it. Sierra's like, man, dude. She won't talk to her boyfriend. She's in a coma right now. And her husband was the man. Tim, he took care of business, so I didn't have to. So I'm like, you got it all covered? You good? You good? So man, I could release. I was like, damn, thank you for being there. Because the Hancock family's been spared a lot of trauma. We haven't had a lot of, major health issues, people dying, and so on. Even our parents are still around. So I didn't need my first daughter dying. That would have sucked. And we are very blessed that we live in a country. Gwen is a doula. She, a midwife and everything. She wanted to give her as much of the natural birth experience as possible in the hospital. So fortunately, we were in the hospital and they got taken care of and we're all good. And the doctor, she's sitting there and she's had it together. And she goes right at this, she's suturing her up and then got her hands up to here doing this cow birthing thing, sewing up different stuff. And she goes, "This is why you have babies in the hospital." Yeah. At least one really close. So that all worked out fine and we're great. But that's why we moved the publication of the magazine another week. Because also what happened, I'll give you this, count out 10 of these so I know I get 10 back. Okay. These are, remember we keep talking about the dime cards, okay? These are the laminated dime cards that we did, Ron Paul Revolution, and it was a joint thing between the Daily Paul and Freedom's Phoenix. We were working on these, for, just start passing these around just so everybody can see. Yeah, you made about 100 of them. just pass them around. You guys just kind of let everybody look at them. Sit back this way. Because what happened was, we wanted to promote the use of silver. We know the dollar's going. This whole thing is going to start imploding. When it does, how do you trade and barter and so on? Well, the same way we used to always do it. It was gold and silver. Let me give you a perfect example of the culture, and this is going to freak David out. You're familiar with Daily Paul, Michael Nystrom. I've known Michael since back in '07. He and I have had these same conversations. I go, Michael, young, enthusiastic, loves Dr. Paul, with good reason. And I go, I'm telling you, man, what happens when this is all over? This is a cultural war. We're in this for, make sure that you don't get pulled. Because I know what they want to do. The Republican Party wants Daily Paul big time. It is one of the most popular sites. They get over 200,000 hits a day. I mean, they are huge. But it's becoming this Republican thing. We're going to go save the party. That was never Nystrom's thing. He didn't care. He's a young computer programming libertarian anarchist type guy. He'll let him do whatever, but he's like, I go, well, what's it going to do? Is it going to become the Daily Rand or something? And he's like, hell no, okay? He hadn't released it yet until we started doing this, but what he has is the Daily Paul is going to be an acronym. PAUL is going to stand for something. You know what's coming? You'll start seeing when you put it up there and you do it, it'll have in the favicon up there, it'll say, what it is. P, peace. AU, the symbol for gold, and L, liberty. Peace, gold, liberty. Okay? And or love. So the next phase that we do is going to be a 4-card series that's going to have P, peace, and they'll have maybe a quarter in it with a peace symbol and kind of, that. And then gold, AU, and we're putting 0.5 grams of gold bars in the actual card where the dime goes. Then we're going to have liberty, another one with a dime, a liberty dime in it. And then love, will be the love logo, and we'll do that. Now, you have 90% silver that you can do with quarters, but it's, we use the old dimes because it's easier to see they're older and not have to have my glass to see what year it is. Because Roosevelt, 64 and earlier, are 90% silver. After that, they got rid of Kennedy so they can do what they wanted. So what happened is that I want to go with the Mercuries, but they're not really Mercuries. They're Liberties. That's Lady Liberty with a wreath or what. It just looks like a Mercury, and everybody just called it a Mercury, and it stuck. Those are Liberty dogs, okay? Something we need to know. So that opens up a bunch of stuff. So Peace, Gold, Liberty, well, obviously we're going to have those in there. Now, what do we use George Washington, a silver quarter? That's like $5 in silver now. What do we use him for? Who gives a crap about Washington? You know, you slave-owning scumbag?
Yes.
You founding fornicator?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you see a lot of the anarchists and a lot of the people, you know, he just represents the beginning of our enslavement, blah, 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 Constitution. I know all the Constitution, you're freaking out, but, you know, that's the, you know, kind of the mindset that's coming. So, George Washington, I go, how are we going to use George Washington? Well, all on the show yesterday, one of the activists, she goes, oh, are you kidding me? He grew lots of marijuana. So we're going to have the marijuana leader, George Washington, man, he's our hip father, man. Trying to have little bubbles. I mean, you know, George Washington's going to be token. So you know conservatives are going to hate that one. So, because, you know, founding fathers, man, they were stoned all the time. I just want you to know that. So what we're going to do is this next phase goes out. Now, we had talked to him. We did these, and I sent him to him. And I said, look, I want to do this. We'll do a fundraiser for you. We'll sell some. And I ordered 1,000. We had 800 left because we were like a few weeks. People were buying them and so on. They cost us about $3.25 to make, then shipping, all that kind of stuff. So it was $5 per card, and then we charged $5 per order. Now, some people ordered as many as 100. When there's something they ordered 100, a couple guys, 150 or something. A lot of people ordered 20 because they got free shipping. It was $5. Some people ordered one, some people ordered two. So just ordered one, and I got a call this morning. Yeah, who are you, free speech? I'm going to report you to fraud. You charged me $10 on my good. And I'm going, did you order any dime cards? Yeah, well, that's what I want. Oh, okay, never mind. So what happens is we put it up at midnight on Thursday. This is a day that my daughter went into the hospital, water broke, she went in. So right when we put it up, the ticker, and you always have it at the top of the Daily Paw, it'll say so-and-so bought so many and all that kind of stuff. It goes in, within an hour and a half, 2 hours, all 800 were sold, and the ticker went up to over 6,000. So we're going, oh my God, what the heck do we do now? Well, we kind of anticipated that this may happen. So immediately, I'm on with the printer the next morning. I ordered 2 more land. We have 4 stations that can do at least 2, 3 at a time, you know, people there feeding them. You know, everybody came over. Jeff and his son Jeff came over. You know, Gary and Verda were the core of this whole thing, doing all the mailing part and everything. They organized it all, helped Donna with that. You know, Alex was there, Chris was there, you know, a bunch of people came over, and for 3 full days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all we did was make Don cards. They all got shipped out except maybe 5 that had some address problems or something like that. We'll deal with that over the weekend. But they're all, you know, here we have 5,000 something cards order that we did, and here are the ones that I have extra. If you guys want these, it's a limited edition, $5 a piece because I said. You don't want them, I keep them. Somebody I know, I'm going to put them back up, and they're gone. Okay?
You had the PDF files to download to make these, and it
What?
didn't.
What about them?
You had them available to download the PDFs so you could do your own,
Yes.
and the PDF didn't work when I tried to download it. I just wonder if that was fixed, or do you know?
Maybe.
Okay.
Well, we had the PSD. You got to be careful which one you click
PSD
on.
and PDF, right.
The PSD is a Photoshop file. We gave the layers of it because it's not just us doing this. I don't want to make my whole life freaking making cards, okay? But there's a job because we need somebody where I'm going to look next time we do this because Daily Paul calls me and goes, Ernie, this is great. We want to do 30,000 more. And I go, well, here's the file. Knock yourself out. Oh, no, we don't want to do it. Okay. So does anybody want a job? So what we're going to do is go ahead and pay per, like Chris will help, Alex will help, some people give them laminated and stuff, and all they do is make these and they get so many per card. You know, so much card. How many cards you can make that pass inspection, we'll do. We're going to be printing up a full color, big stamp, die, doing whatever, have them ready to go, because after them is antiwar.com. Then we're going to be doing Silver Circle Movie. They got a whole bunch that we're going to be doing with them. They got 10th ounce rounds, it's just about the same size, using that. So this dime card thing, I've been telling you guys this was going to go like this. Well, it went like that, okay? So now we're going to just, how many dimes, I've been purchasing as many Mercury dimes as I can get from Roberts & Roberts, one of the guys, the brokerage out of Pensacola, Florida, that's been supplying us with the dimes. So we're, here we go. And I'm telling you why. Of course, it's a lot of support for us in Daily Poll, but the big thing is that it's an educational tool. It has a silver calculator app that goes right on your calculator. We're going to start dealing in precious metals. What do we get? We get the artwork for doing the same thing with early turn of the century. France had a whatever the heck they call it. It was a, I can't remember what kind of franc it is. It's they call it something, like we call it, Liberty dimes or something. They call it something. I can't remember. It's French. So what they do is they created their own layout for 3 different cards just for France. Germany's coming online. Then you start getting some of the Eastern Bloc stuff is going to go. I'm going, oh, here we go. And it uses the same calculator app. They came to us and asked, they go to Ross and they said, can you add this old franc to the silver calculator app? Yeah. It's a generational thing. Worldwide, dealing in silver. Because I know, and so is Max Kaiser, out there going, everybody just buy an ounce. Because they can't supply the contracts for what they have when people take delivery on their futures contracts. The silver's not there. It's ridiculous. So when this happens, this dime card here, $5, you go, well, I remember when it used to be in the, single digits, double digits. See my point? It's going to get stupid. And we have a soft landing for the crash of the dollar for the people. And it's going to be this. But it's not really the dime cards as much as it is the silver calculator. That's what we're promoting. And that's what all these other organizations are doing. And that's why you have at the core of the Ron Paul revolution was Daily Paul, and it's no longer Republican or political. It's going cultural, it's peace, gold, liberty. How much example do you need? But there's another way you can do to bring this about and slap them around. You can also run for office, and it's easy to do.
Still
and
voting?
Explain what?
Still voting?
No. But I run for office. I stopped voting in 2002. That didn't stop me from running against John McCain for U.S. Senate in 2004, or Secretary of State in 2006, or County Recorder in 2008. I'm kind of done with that now too. But that doesn't mean you still can't slap them around. Oh, I get for free, get a microphone in front of a bunch of people with my fascist freaking candidate over here and my communist candidate over here, and I get to talk to you. Okay, I'll do that. And Michael's going to tell you how. Well, I go to the bathroom.
Well, let me expound upon what Ernie just said. You can run for office this year. This may be the last year because of Top 2. If you haven't heard about Top 2, and the combination of Top 2 and the districting that's happening right now, the districting fight, this may be the last year that the Libertarians will be able to field general election candidates. So take advantage. We have a line on the ballot that is for now our ability to field candidates, and our candidate that wins our primary, the Libertarian Party primary, will be the candidate that will be on the general election ballot. What does it take to get listed as a Libertarian primary candidate? Not a heck of a lot. For most of, if you want to run for state house or state senate, you got to be a registered Libertarian. You got to collect somewhere between 10 to 20 signatures. And here's the key: you don't have to get just Libertarian signatures on your nominating petition. You can get Libertarians, you can get independents, or anybody that's not registered as anybody who's registered to vote but who's not a Republican, Democrat, or Green can sign your petitions. And since we know that more than a third of registered voters are registered independent,
it's, you know, like shooting fish in a barrel. It's very easy to get your 10 to 20 signatures. If you want to run for one of the county offices, again, you're looking for about 100 to 150 signatures. Not hard to do, because all of a sudden you're not limited to your district, you're limited to the entire county. If you want to run for the statewide offices, same thing. It's probably about 100 to 150 signatures. Not hard to do. Again, you can get them from anybody who's not registered, who's registered to vote, but not a Republican, Democrat, or Green. So the hard part is you got a little bit of legwork to do. So getting the signatures is not all that hard. It's all the other stuff that you have to do. You got to get the forms. If you're running for a statewide office or legislator, Senate or House, you got to get them from the Secretary of State, and you have to fill out about 4 different forms. One of them that you file right away is unless you're gonna raise money more than $500, raise or spend more than $500, you do the $500 exemption. That exempts you from having to do any campaign finance reporting. You get that done, you get that filed. As soon as you got that, then you can start getting your signatures. You have to file, but at the time that you file your signatures, when you've got enough of them, that's when you have to also submit, and this is kind of onerous, your financial disclosure statement. Read it carefully. People think it asks for things that it doesn't really ask for, so read it carefully, answer it the way it needs to be answered. Remember that all the people that are currently elected had to fill out the same things, and they don't really want you to know what really is going on. So read the questions carefully, because it doesn't really ask what you think it might be asking. And then you, let's see, you've got your exemption statement, your nominating petition, you got a nomination paper. That's just a form that you fill out that basically says, I'm from this district and been registered here for this long, et cetera, et cetera. So all these things are pretty straightforward. The Libertarian Party is looking for people to step up and run for offices, everything, like I said, from all the legislative offices to all the various local offices.
While you have an opportunity, why don't you explain the top 2 some of these things?
Okay, so let me explain top 2. People haven't heard about this, although this body has heard about it, because we had Ted Downing come talk about top 2, but he didn't call it top 2, he called it something else. Top 2 basically is where the right and the left have gotten together and said, we don't want all this nonsense, because we've got all these candidates on this side, and we've got all the candidates on that side, and all that. What we really want is just more government, and so here's how we're going to get more government. We're going to make sure that it's only going to be the centrist candidates that are going to have that are going to be on the ballot. Top 2 is going to be probably on the ballot. I don't know if they've gotten enough signatures or not, but they're collecting signatures right now. They claim they've got a lot of signatures. They've been very well funded, hundreds of thousands and perhaps millions of dollars to collect signatures to get them on the ballot. The initiative will change the whole process of the primary and the general election process. What they're telling us that it'll do, it'll make it easier for independent candidates to run, because right now independent candidates, it's very difficult. If you're truly independent, you've got to collect a heck of a lot of signatures to get on the ballot. It'll make that easier, but what it will do is that it'll be, for all intents and purposes, an open primary. Everybody that qualifies for the primary gets to be listed on the ballot, and anybody who's registered to vote can vote for the primary, and whoever gets the 2 candidates get the most votes in the primary, number 1 and number 2, those are the candidates that are going to be on the general election ballot. So what's really going to happen is that in heavily Republican districts, you're going to have 2 Republicans on the general election ballot. So you get your choice of Republican A and Republican B for a particular office. And in heavily Democrat districts, it's going to be 2 Democrats. And there's not going to be a Libertarian that's going to be in the general election ballot. There's not going to be a Green. And again, it doesn't really matter what office you're talking about. It's just going to be the top 2. In districts that are 50-50, there's a chance that you might have a Democrat and a Republican. But again, where's going to be the space for the Libertarian? So it really is to eliminate all the riffraff, get rid of the Libertarians, get rid of the Greens, all in the name of, well, let's make room for the independent on the ballot, who's never going to pass the top 2. So, at the end of the day, in 2 years, we'll be looking back to the good old days of 2012 and go, remember when you could have a choice of candidates for the general election? You actually had, they actually pretend to give you a choice of a libertarian and a green and a Republican and a Democrat. Now I gotta pick from one of these two from the same party. But anyway, that's my version of top two. Any other questions on that?
That sounds exactly like the Weimar Republic. That's exactly the way Hitler came to power.
Well, I think it's a step in that direction. I mean, I think probably in 4 years or in 6 years, they'll make it clear that they'll have a big box that says vote for candidate, the preferred candidate there, and a little tiny box. Are you really sure you want to vote? Because you might not like what happens. We might have to come talk to you, other candidate, you know. But you just still have a choice. You just, you know, we'll have appropriate warnings associated with it. That's a few
Income tax is voluntary.
Yeah.
Your vote has already been counted.
Speedy trial and due process and fair and impartial and that.
Alex.
I don't know if anybody knows, but Chris here is running for Libertarian something, and he needs signatures, so if anybody here can get
Yeah, what district are you? You even started the paperwork and stuff?
Yeah, District 4, Kansas City. So you got down the west side, surprise.
I mean, have you got the stuff?
Yeah.
Do you know how many signatures you need for that office?
13.
How many?
Just 13.
Have you got any yet?
I got 4 or 5.
You can sign for yourself, you know that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you see, even for a county supervisor, even though the district is kind of big, which means that you got, again, shooting fish in a barrel, you got a lot of people. I mean, find a local library in front of there, and one afternoon you'll have your signatures. It's not that hard.
On Wednesday, I'm going to be hitting a bunch of Libertarians.
Yeah. So you don't need, you have, you can get signatures from anybody that's registered to vote, that's not a Republican, not a Democrat, not a Green. You're good. So all the independents, libertarians, whatever other party that's
We have
the party,
databases
not
too,
that-
if you really need it, but you probably won't.
Yeah. So again,
Look
it's
at
not
database
that
right now.
hard.
Yeah.
Can you tell everybody real quick how difficult the paperwork was?
It was basically a front and back page. He basically asked for your treasurer, chairman, website, you know, that kind of stuff. Just a real simple form. There really isn't too much to fill out.
That's the $500 exemption certificate, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
Yeah.
you run for state legislature.
No, this is
Kind
like
of board of
county
supervisors.
Supervisor. Does he have to do a finance thing?
Yeah, when he files with the
Yeah,
county.
when I turned in my signature.
Yeah, that's like a 10-page form. Like I said, read the questions really carefully. They ask them very generally, and it tells you you don't have to, you know, it's ask a question and it says, but you don't have to say X, Y, and Z, and then read the instructions because it doesn't require nearly. It's not quite as onerous as you think it is.
Yeah, I filled it out already.
Yeah, I mean they are a pain in the butt, and it's kind of funny sometimes to look at certain candidates because they're publicly available, so you can look up some candidate and see what they filed and some of the things that they write in there. They're kind of funny. Any other questions?
Is Keith McKinney running? Aren't you running?
My name is on the, or I was gonna do the write-in on the thing, but I'm not on the paperwork, so I don't know if it's gonna work, so. If you wanna write me on that district.
I have no idea.
Well, see, the thing is, as a write-in, this is how it works. 45 days before the actual primary, which is whatever it is, September now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like, it's early August, it used to be 15 days, and we pissed them off, so they changed it. Anyway, so you go 45 days, like early August, you go in, you say, I'm going to be a write-in the primary to be the most vote getter for the Libertarian for this race, which there's no other Libertarian. So you win, and you're on the general election ballot.
No.
But you need to have at least as many write-ins as you needed petition signatures. Right?
That's exactly right.
So if he needed 20-something, 30 signatures, then he needs 30 people to write him in. Well, Libertarians, we do mailings a lot of time. We encourage people, go to your voting thing, insist on, they don't always post it, they're supposed to, and see the write-in list there, and it'll say all the write-ins for which party for what office. And Libertarians have been pretty good about it. They go up and I go, wow, I got that many write-ins? I didn't even know that many people. So I mean, you know.
The problem isn't the Libertarians, the problem is the county elections department that decides, maybe we'll count them, maybe we won't.
No, we had a lawsuit on that. In fact, Michael was not put on the ballot because they refused to count him. He goes, well, I know I voted for me, you know. So he got some other people on. It was a big lawsuit. He was the attorney on it. and it came out we proved that they were not even counting the write-ins. So it's just they're still voting. You know, I mean, seriously.
So it's easy. It's really easy to just get your signatures. That way, you're on the primary ballot. If you're on the primary ballot, it doesn't even matter if anybody votes for you. If you're the only one, you're going to get through to the general. If you're not the only one, then, as I said, you know, whoever gets the most votes, somebody gets 1 vote, somebody gets 2 votes. You're going to be on the general election. 2012, if top 2 passes, 2012 is the last year you'll see libertarians on the general election ballot until top 2 gets changed or gotten rid of.
So this is the last time we can do this kind of thing.
Yeah,
Michael
so-
Schoen still on?
I don't know. The final minutes I give to Frank, and we got to go. The 3 things. One, we're going to hear something from Morpheus in just a little bit, and from, I'm sorry, Claire. And she has an announcement, you know, a seminar. But I forgot to tell you one other thing. There's an economic discussion group I belong to for a long time, and it's been around like about as long as, well, no, it's been like in the 80s, I think they started it. And long story, Charles Goyette was the last presenter. And this last month, he came up and he did his new book, Red and Blue and Broke All Over. It's going to be another New York Times bestseller. It's awesome because it's like, everybody, like I say, freedom's the answer, what's the question? Why? Why does freedom always work? Why is freedom the answer? Why? Charles Goyette wrote a book, This Is Why. You know, just, this is why. You do this, you do this, you do this, like Austrian economics for dummies, okay? So I got a lot out of that. He had a big publisher, New York publisher. It's going huge. His first book was translated into Chinese and Korean. I mean, you know, so this one is going to be another bestseller you watch. So as this goes out, he's talking at the discussion group about this. Now, Rob Haney, who's Haney? Rob Haney is also a member of this discussion group, and it's about 25, 30 people. So Rob wanted to have a discussion before the presentation by Charles on why people should vote. He wanted to make it because he could see this trend happening. He's a big, you know, got some money Republican guy. And I think he was also the guy that did the first fundraiser for Ron Paul in 07 in Paradise Valley. You know, and he had the first he raised $30,000, $40,000 first time he came here. I remember it was March, 29th when he came in 07 because it was my birthday. You know, went out Thursday, we were or whatever it was, we were out there at Sky Harbor, big sign saying, Love Lucia. It's the first time they got a dose of that. So the next day they had this party, Paradise Valley, big fundraiser, all the Libertarian boys were there. Well, he had nice things to say about Dr. Paul, and Barry Goldwater Jr. did his thing and so on. Well, Rob was being kind, and so he's seen this trend over the last, 5 years or so, that it's going away from this whole evolution is just, you're still voting, So he wanted to have a discussion on the voting. I think he was surprised by the veracity and the number of people in this group that is heavily, like Tom Jenny goes there, Darcy from the Goldwater Institute, a bunch of movers and shakers inside the political movement that's not really necessarily tied heavily to just Republicans. This is an economic thing, which has included a lot of libertarians. I've been going to this thing, before I was even a member, from the 90s. And this has been, it's based on Leonard Reed's thing about, shine the light deal. So this has been more of an Austrian economic thing for decades. Rob wanted to have the discussion on voting. And I don't think it went the way he thought it would. And the reason is because all the reasons for voting, all of the promises that are made, all of the machinations by the parties has got to the point to where even it's not just the kids anymore that know it is a fraud on so many levels. And what David is going through this time is a demonstration of that at every single level in every place around this country. But we need to go through it, witness it, document it, talk about it, go neon flash an example of it, because if you don't do that, then you don't have any say. Well, I've checked my boxes off a long time ago, okay? But this is another election cycle. I hope David is successful. I will help David be successful. I need you to write an article, we'll put it on Freedom's Phoenix, promote it, have you on the radio again. God, man, go, and I'll be a lot nicer than I was today, okay? But the thing is, and we'll help promote, what Michael's doing in the party, and I'll be all kind of, if you're going to be doing political action, here we go. But I just want you to know, the trend that an older gentleman that, Rob's probably in his 70s at least, and he's been in this, very influential in a club that has been successful from his perspective, and seeing this generation of the greatest generation is starting to see how everything they built and were part of is being abandoned all at once by an entire coming up generation. How does that affect you, Beryl and Ruth? You see, I don't know. I don't have their perspective. But I, Ruth and Beryl and, I'm sorry, what was your name? Bob. Yeah, I remember Bob. Bob and Beryl and Ruth have been around for freaking decades. Doreen's been coming for a long time. How many other of you've been here going to the Breakfast Club for over a decade? Yeah, James and, don't tell me. Okay, tell me. James. Damn it. I never remember names, so you guys know that. So, Gene used to be, he chaired Breakfast Club, ran it for a long time before I took it over. I mean, as Harry was having his health problems. So, and Keith's been coming around. I mean, a long time, there has been a big push to make sure that we could fix it. But you knew me back in the 90s. I was in the middle of it, just like David. I was David, 15 years ago, trying to understand it, get inside. But it didn't take me long to figure out how jacked up it was all a game and a fraud. It was just a distraction because it was all about controlling the livestock.
Right.
It was just a mechanism. And when the livestock starts getting, what? Even a free-range chicken winds up in the Chicken McNugget box. Okay? So, they want you to feel you're more free and productive and you'll make healthier eggs and your meat's better. And they're just sitting about, to serve man's a cookbook. Okay? So I'm just going, the Republican Party's just, they just made the cookbook. So let's go ahead and go with Claire. Give your, 90-second thing on whatever. Here it is. Go.
You probably know that Tommy Cryer was sued by the IRS and he won in 2007 when he proved in court that there is no law that requires anybody in the private sector having to file and pay on their labor receipts.
And he's a trial attorney.
He's going to be here on Saturday, May 19th, and he has a presentation that he's been giving around the country called the Save America Seminar. It's not only about the income tax, but it's part of...
it's a month after I gave him a month.
He's explaining his plan of what he thinks will